Hi everyone, my name is Cassandra Nadira Lee. I am an executive in their mind. I actually chose this path because about 21 years ago, I actually had a depression, very, very bad depression, because I joined not a very good company, and that causes me to be depressed, and it causes me to actually not be clear and not be sure of myself. And because of that, I suffer from clinical depression. I actually went to see a psychiatrist and I was given a lot of medication. But because I believe that my life shouldn't be ending with taking medication and seeing psychiatrists, I decided that I must do something different. leg issue, so he can't walk very properly. And I think for them, my message to them is really for them to live the rest of their life. We don't know when they will go, but to live the rest of their life happy as well as healthy. And inshallah, they can get to say the Shahada before they pass away. I think from my observation, I don't know what's right, what's wrong, but in my observation, I find that in Singapore, most of the younger people are very privileged. We have a lot of opportunities because we are educated in English as well as a mother tongue, so there's a lot of exposure. And also the education also allows them to have a lot of opportunities. And in Singapore, also, I think because of who I mix with, I know a lot of small business owners. I also allow my children to be very exposed, meaning when my elder son was 12 years old, I already start him to work. I already get him to start working because I'd say 2 months of holiday, Mama cannot stand you being at home, go and work. So I have a friend who has a small little cafe and I asked him to go and work there. So he has exposure. He has a lot of advantage, right? Meeting different people. I think another opportunity that I think in Singapore the young people have is the ability to get a lot of assistant in academic. A lot of children that I know in Singapore goes for tuition, English tuition, Chinese. Accountability, we have responsibility. It can be from the smallest thing. What am I accountable for when I'm a student? I'm accountable and responsible for my results. I'm accountable and responsible for the cleanliness of my room. If I'm sharing the room with my siblings, I need to ensure that the room is also conducive for them. That's one example. That's already what I call personal leadership. As you grow up older, you become a young adult. When you become a young adult, you first meet the society, right? When you first go out and work. When you are working, not, not, how should I put it, not waving into many things and not being very unclear. I will be able to get resources. I will also be able to get other people to come into the same objective or purpose with me, and then the game becomes bigger, right? More people are involved. Another thing I think about good leadership is honesty. Yeah, honesty is very important, because when you are being able to be honest, you actually gain trust. When you gain trust, then you realize that, well, life is full of ups and downs, right? When you are going down, that's when you need trust from others. Because trust is something whereby it takes many, many years to build. It takes minutes or seconds to lose it. So to me, having that trust with people means that it takes a lot of consistency. Always talking about what can I do to improve Indonesia, and that to me, even though you're very young, you're already thinking about that. That makes a lot of difference. That makes Indonesia very different from Singapore. It means you're already starting to think, what can you do next for the next generation of Indonesia? How can a smaller group of people help with a bigger group of Indonesians? That to me is one of the biggest things I experience, Singapore and Indonesia. I think for my experience and my perspective of Indonesian is that the older generation. When I say older generation, it's the 40, 50, 60 years of Indonesian. They have a lot of good connection. And that connection, if it is being used properly, can really help the younger Indonesians. All the time, but you give them an environment whereby they are allowed to lose. They can fail. And when you give them certain resources, not banyak, not many resources, what they can do is that they can use that opportunity to grow themselves and to grow those in the team. When that happens, they then understand, oh, being an entrepreneur means I must take responsibility. When they take responsibility and when they fail and fail and fail, one day soon they will succeed. That is very important for me, from my perspective, because some companies, they give unlimited opportunities and unlimited resource, but that's not real. In the real world, you have limited opportunities and you have limited resources, and that's what an entrepreneur do. We don't have many opportunities, we don't have many resources. We learn how to manage resources, we learn how to manage our opportunities. That's how I feel. Like, for example, in Paragon, when certain employees show that they have interest to be an entrepreneur, then maybe the organization can give them that. I think one of the main difference between business leaders in big organization is that they are very objective, right? They are very clear. I'm here on a salary, right? I receive this much of salary. These are my KPIs. These are the resources I have. I can spend these resources as long as I meet these KPIs. There is no personal relationship to the goals as well as to the people in the company. So everything I make can be with the head only, not much with the heart. Whereas family business, especially in Indonesia, that I have been working with, is very different. Not only their head is involved, their heart is fully involved. Why? Because this is the business that my mother, my father, or even my grandfather and grandmother started. And I have been growing up, living, eating the food that is grown by this business, right? Or my education is funded by this business. So I am fully attached to this business. So when I make a decision, or when I'm maybe leading some people, I not only use the head, I have to use my heart. And sometimes too much heart is not a good thing. You must have sensible heart, right? And the worst thing is, sometimes in family business, sometimes the brother, the sister, the cousin, the whatever are all working together, and sometimes they are the board of directors, and it becomes very a mesh, right? Personal relationship, professional relationship, all together. And when the leader do not know how to separate or keep boundaries, it becomes very sticky. Yeah, it becomes very sticky, and it's not beneficial for everybody at work, right? And when it becomes not beneficial, then the business suffer. So that's the main difference I see between actual business leaders who have no so-called personal relationship and family-owned business. That's one of the biggest difference I've seen. Yeah. For me, I think it's very, very simple. I've been blessed, alhamdulillah, by Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, with a lot of experiences, with a lot of credentials, with a lot of networks. What I want to use all this for is to help people grow. When I say grow, it means to let go of their past. And in our life, we have three types of consciousness. We have full consciousness, we have subconsciousness, and we have unconsciousness. And many of us sometimes don't understand that we have a past. And when I say past, it doesn't mean, you have divorce and all this. No. Because as all of us know, we are human. All of us have youth and we have childhood. And when we are young, we might not know the full implication of what happens when we are young, and we are affected by it. So my job, or what I want to do, is to help people understand that their future need not be dictated by their past, that they can have ownership of their future, which is very different from their past, meaning that they can let go of their past, which might not be very positive, but achieve a very positive And I spoke to him briefly, just say hello, and then he left. But after that, when I got to know that he's the second generation business owner of a very successful company, I was like, huh? Really? Because he's very, very humble. He's very, very humble. And I was like, interesting man. So I seriously don't know whether I will meet him again in Indonesia, but down the months, I met him again in actually a retreat. We were doing a retreat together about global leadership, and he was there as a participant just like me. And he spoke very little English then. He was speaking most of the time Bahasa, and I can only speak English. So I was like, interesting man. But his assistant, Adit, was there. So Adit, I know. And then we did a communication together during the retreat, and we had quite a lot of fun. And Pak Salman came on the next day or early night, the night before the second day. And it's very interesting because it was my second time meeting him, and he was still very quiet, but yet very humble. Then my third experience of him was not about him, but about the products he sponsors. So about 3 to 4 months ago, I started going to KL to attend Islamic lectures by Faith Events. And the first lecture I attended was by Dr. Haifa Yunus. As a participant, because I pay for the ticket, I actually receive gifts, so-called door gifts, and it's by Wardar. And I was like, oh, okay, this looks familiar, but I cannot remember. Then only after I came back from KL to Singapore, I realized, oh, this Wardar is Pak Salman's Wardar. Oh, okay, then I make the connection. That was the first time that I attended the Faith Events lecture. The second time I go, I also received Warda's free gift, door gifts. I was like, huh? They're still giving? The third time I went, I received the Warda door gifts again. It was the third time. But you know what's very different is that Pak Salman keep giving all these gifts, but they did not ask for exposure, the airtime to talk about Warda. Whereas in the Faith Events, there were other sponsors, and they all asked for airtime. So I was very, I was very impressed by his style of management. He give and give and give, but never ask for returns. That is really very, very astonishing. Very impressive, very impressive. Actually, when I met Pak Salman in Singapore about a few weeks ago, we talked about, doing a video. The first thing I say, yes, I can do everything for you. The only thing I want is to meet your mother. Why? To me, I've read a little bit about her and how she started the company, right? And to be able to have that vision, to start a halal skincare and cosmetic company in a very difficult situation and in not a very progressive country like Indonesia many years ago, I think it takes a lot of foresight, a lot of vision. And I do want to meet these female leaders who is a very, a very courageous woman, right? She is in her 70s. To be a woman leader at such a young age, I like to meet. I really want to learn from her. That's why I'm feeling a bit excited and nervous. To be honest, I'm a bit nervous. For me, a lot of time I actually spend is on my job. I'm actually quite a workaholic. I like to do my job. But other than that, I cook a lot for my son. Me and my husband take turns to cook at home. So we cook a lot, and then we go for walks around my house. There is actually some greenery, some mountains, small little mountains in Singapore. We actually walk a lot. Other than that, if you ask me, I like to attend what they call trainings, because I'm in the training, right? I'm in training and coaching, so I like to attend. Now I limit it to once a year, try not to go for more. But another thing that I'm interested in now is to attend Islamic lectures. That's why I've been going to KL. Because it's very rare for Islamic ustazah and ustad to come to Singapore. As I told you earlier, it's very hard for them to get permit. So KL is the nearest for me to be able to travel. So I've been going there every month. So Dr. Haifa, Yasmin Mogahed, then Sheikh Yahya Ibrahim, and then Sheikh Ali Muhammad. So I've been going very often. I think the most important thing is be a good person. And when I say be a good person, is to be a good Muslim. Pray, because you really don't know when is your last day and you don't know when is your last breath. So pray sincerely, ask for forgiveness, and most important, when you can, give good. Give to people around you and give your time, give your resources, as well as give your heart. Be sincere in everything you do, and also learn to build and grow yourself. My husband their emotions, understanding how team works together and how emotions actually affect one another at work. So this is something I